All right, so we're doing video feedback for the midterms, so I can sort of point directly to your character and give feedback that way. And first up, I know you said something about the color red, but honestly, like, besides the fact that pink is red, those are just prompts just to get you like started. If this is how you envisioned your character, that's fantastic. So I mean, having the color waves, if you can work that out, that would be really cool. That would be a really interesting idea, but don't feel like you have to work it in to meet the requirements of the assignment or anything like that. So I actually, beyond that, I want to start with something that actually Gus was telling you in class, which was having to fix the ear or antenna or whatever is a little bit in order to what we were talking about was silhouette value. So silhouette value is the idea that if all the inside detail is lost, you can still tell what's going on with the character through the outline, and it has to do with what we read first and what's more easily readable. And so by having this ear out like this a little bit, it's not obscured, would help. It's the same reason why if I was animating this character and I wanted an arm to point, I would use this one, right? Because if this arm points, it's like really obvious. But if this other arm points, it's not. See how it's like this arm is in front of this arm and this body, and so we don't see it as well. And so using the right arm to do something like that would stand out more. And I bring that up because in terms of the character design, your silhouette value for the character personality is really good, because they're scared, right? Yeah. So like everything about this character is like pointing away from whatever it's facing. The ears are down, the arms are sad, the legs are like, bent just a little bit at the knee. The body is kind of almost like a flour sack where everything kind of fell, or like maybe one of those goo toys or something. And then the head is pointed away from stuff, and it's huge, so you can get these huge expressive eyes, but also it's the fact that it's pointed away from everything. Just all of that, the silhouette of this character reads as tentative and passive and not wanting to get near stuff, which is great, because it's rare that you can get that much personality, like for just one specific word, across in a still character. You can make them scared by animating, obviously, but this character kind of gives the impression of being scared all the time just by the way you design them, which is really, really cool. That's some like advanced level stuff. I love seeing that you've got, you're figuring out how to, close the eyes. I'm just very curious. One note on that, I'm going to go to this. When we close our eyes, it is mostly the upper eyelid, or at least more the upper eyelid. So that moves. So you would want to have the eyes close a little bit lower, not halfway in between, which would mean altering this slightly, but you could probably just bring it down. But that's just something to keep in mind. There we go. And it's going to be huge when they blink. You can spend you can have just having the just one in between is probably necessary. There's some characters that could blink just by closing them, like going from open to close, but your eyes are so big that in between is going to be necessary. And when we get to animation, you can like let it, hold for a couple frames on this before closing. That would be fine. I think you've also got a couple different mouth shapes in here somewhere. Oh no, we're gonna work on it and then didn't. That's right. But yeah, just overall, this is gonna be really good to work with and animate. It's this the single joints, or at least they could be, but it's also broken up if necessary. And the way they're connected to the body, they have those lines so they can just kind of swing around all over the place. The neck is hidden behind the chin. There's just a lot of really good like 2D animation solutions in here. And I want to show you real quick how to import it. So we're going to go new. We can make this bigger later. But essentially, you just say File, Import, Import to Stage, because I happen to know you have all your layers. Now, in your case, if some of your layers are not visible, you'll see that they're not here So you have to make sure if you want them, like the eyes closed, that you have to like go in there and make sure they're checked. Make sure everything else is checked. Yes, it is. Perhaps we don't need the square. Maybe we do. You can turn those things on and off. Convert layers to animate layers. Place objects in original position. So then we hit import, and this happens. Now, obviously, we have to click on the background and, make things a little bit bigger so we have a bigger stage to work on. And, obviously, you would also make, like, more space to actually have the character moving around. But you can see what happened here. All of your objects came in and they're all on their separate layers just like they were before. There may be some differences in how they're drawn. We found that sometimes, let's see, so that's a drawn object, and oh nope, the paths are still intact. So sometimes those outlines get turned into fills, but in your case it actually didn't, which is cool. If this was a stroke in Illustrator, it is no longer, but that would be, easy to change. Yep, cool. Just making sure it all came in. Okay. So, but you can see it's all still separate pieces, even if they're on the same layer or not. All of that stuff, they come in, some of them came in as groups, some of them came in as drawn objects. But either way, you can make all the changes you need to. Right? So that is how you would bring it in here, and then it would just exist in here, and then you could turn things into, movie clips and whatever. But you've kept things very well organized in here, that importing it is kind of a breeze. And just so you know, once you import it into Animate, this is now separate from this. There is no, if you make changes on this, I can turn it green. It's not going to turn green in Animate. So just things to keep in mind. But yes, just overall, like, very well done. It's just solid work. You've got so much expression, just like smart planning in this. I know it's not like as complicated as some of the other ones, but you made all the right decisions in terms of like how to put it together and the shapes. I mean, yeah, we nitpicked over like the antenna, which I just realized I put on backwards. I apologize. I think you actually flipped it around in the one class. There we go. My apologies to the poor dude. Yeah, and it's okay that it's like technically a little bit backward. Like, I know if it was on this side of his head, it would be pointing that way. But you can do cheats like that in animation. It doesn't have to be. Oh, no, no, no. Good grief. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be, an exact mirror of that. But yeah, just all the right decisions, just like solid thinking and thinking ahead on how to do animation, and I can't wait to see what your animation turns into.